Alrighty, and this is the Resurrected Hobbyist with part 2 in my work in progress feedback video on the last meal at Cafe Mori. In the last part, we had just met a young gargoyle who had been killed by a falling section of a church. It happens, I guess. And he's coping with the reality that, he's dead. And this is the end of the universe. And, he mentioned that the internet video had a lot of Robin, mentioned that the internet had a lot of cat videos. And the gargoyle said, oh, you watch those too. So that is where we are now. Well, Mori certainly does. It's funny. At first, I thought I should pick a memory from something like a party or a graduation ceremony, something like that. But I want to pick something else. A memory where I'm alone. I can't remember how many years ago this was, but I remember sleeping in and waking up to the sun streaming in through the curtains. It was autumn, but the sun felt warm. I was under the duvet, and instead of getting out of bed, I just lay there, taking it all in. It was cozy. Was that an okay memory? Of course it is. You can choose any memory you want, so long as it's precious to you. But that's the thing. I thought a precious memory would be one where I'm surrounded by people, or doing something good. What does it say about me that I picked this memory instead of one where I'm with my friends, or helping someone? You're under no obligation to pick what you think other people would think is your most precious memory. It's yours. I'm not your judge. Part of my job description is to remain impartial to everyone. Mori's words echoed through my mind. Death isn't evil. I am not cruel. I am not kind. I am simply me. It seemed like so many decades ago. I guess it was. And it makes me think, how will other people remember me? I don't want to be known as the one who sleeps all the time, Hey, if it means anything to you, I think sleeping in is a pretty good thing to do. Thank you. So that's your menu order? Let me just get that for you. I see, alright, so... Okay, so it's different recipes. Okay. I missed that part before. I didn't realize these menu cards changed. Or were changeable. Feeling of a realization, a eureka moment. You matter. You made a difference for the better. Okay. Marrying Pry. A new discovery. You are learning you have been given a gift. You almost have a sense that this will lead to discovering an even more thing. Okay. Creps. The feeling of relief. The shaking of fear long subsided. No. It's looking for something comforting, warm. Sense of closeness to kin. Warm, fuzzy feelings. Stay for a while, soak in the moment. That's what we're looking for. So, milk, bread, strawberry, vanilla extract. How do you get your strawberries so giant? They're as big as the milk bottles. Mori's got a green thumb, it turns out. He has his own garden out back and everything. Mori's the Reaper, right? How does the Reaper have a... Yeah, never mind. Whatever. Well, actually, I guess thinking about that kind of makes sense. Reapers are master of life and death. If they mastered death, why can't they have mastered life? That kind of makes sense once you think about it. But you have to stop and think about it. Anyway, Mori? As in Cafe Mori? Yeah, he's the owner of the place. It's a Latin name. They didn't seem to get the meaning of that. I decided not to tell them. I'm really hoping it isn't meant to be a joke on the fact that Latin's a dead language. I slide the plate to the gargoyle. They smiled and started eating. I preoccupied myself by rearranging the shelves, realizing I already had everything when I liked it, and rearranged everything back to its original spots. Okay. I'm guessing this is supposed to be where I liked it, as opposed to when. When the gargoyle finished eating, they looked back up at me. That hit the spot. That was the best cake I've ever had. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It tastes like how the memory felt. How did you do that? It's a trade secret. I smiled at the gargoyle. So, I'm going to go now. I feel a little scared. A lot, actually. I tried to think of something to say, something comforting. But it was hard to think of something when you can't start off with, I've been there, I know what it's like. So instead, I took their hand and gave it a tiny, comforting squeeze. They smiled at me. I held on until the hand wasn't there to hold anymore. And this is what Robin does for at least 70 years? How is she not psycho yet? Like that, woo, wow. Woo. Okay, the scientist. I gestured toward the scientist sitting in a corner of the cafe. Over here. He walked over. What was that guy from Dexter's Laboratory? I can't remember what his name is now. Mandark. That's who it was. Looks like a more grown-up Mandark who gave up the goth emo look. He had a Howie-style lab coat with a mandarin collar, like the kid you saw all the time in films and never in real life. Kind you saw all the time in films and never in real life. Well, there's something you don't see every day. Not sure if that's a typo or you meant to have that there. The italic switch at the end there. So, the outfit. Are you a mad scientist? No, a sane one. How did you know that I was a scientist and not a medical doctor? The goggles were a dead giveaway. Oh. Reaching up, he adjusted the headgear consciously. How did I get here? I guess I was accidentally summoned by a witch? I was doing an experiment. Hopefully it turned out right. How do I get back? Welcome to the Cafe Mori, the cafe at the end of the universe. The last stop before your soul gets recycled. Not the classiest way I would put it, but still not the crassest. When you've been doing this job as long as I have, you sometimes feel the urge to reword things to shake things up. There was a long pause, and I could practically see the ones and zeros in his head clicking in place. Wait, what? I'll give you the quick version. Since we're getting short on time, you've died and woken up here. I need you to tell me what your most precious memory is, so that I can make a last meal for you before you disappear and get reborn into someone else. Right. He thought for a moment. What happens if I can't pick a memory? Then you get my job. Wow, that... Yikes. That's a left turn. And how much time do I have? Till the end of the universe, which should be in a few hours. Well, what's the point of being reincarnated then? Beats me, but we're stuck with it, I suppose. Do you ever just think about how we never agreed to this system? I wouldn't exactly call the chaos of the universe a system, but go on. Look, I did a ton of research on the void, and you know what I found? A bunch of solutions that were actionable, if you were in charge. Let me guess. there isn't exactly an emperor of scientists. That's right. And it seems like the people in charge aren't exactly putting the future of the universe at the forefront of their priorities. They'd rather pretend it wasn't happening. Wouldn't people just stick their head out of a window, look at the sky, and then no? Trust me, every scientist learns this at some point. There's no cure for stupidity. As someone who's worked 2 decades in customer service and retail and computer service, 110% agree on that. I'm over here trying to learn about antimatter, and there's people still asking me to prove that ducks exist. I think that's a reference to something. Ducks? It's a thing. He waved his arm around vaguely. I decided not to ask him to elaborate. Yeah, I think that's a smart choice. It's almost funny. Imagine all those people who pretended that the void didn't exist right now going, "Nope, I don't see any debris flying around. What are you talking about?" I briefly smiled, which is my equivalent of a burst of laughter. What made you become a scientist? I think it was when I was using my first science kit. You know, those crystal growing kits? It was a gift from one of my uncles. You had to follow step-by-step instructions with different powders. I made a colored salt crystal from it, purple. I made it into a necklace. I wonder where it went. You know what? I want that to be my first memory. When I fly into the sun, that's the memory I want to cling to. Okay, I don't know if you meant to say first here, given the context elsewhere it was final. So, I don't know. Maybe heads up, maybe not. Flying into the sun, metaphorically speaking, I thought. Dying and either being reborn or raced into oblivion, literally speaking. Coming right up. Okay, so that one recipe about discovery. There we go. Meringue pie. Okay. Oh, that's an egg, not a potato. No. Get out of there. So, egg, lemon, bread, and a mushroom. How did you make a meringue pie by putting bread into a blender? Dude, you're standing at a cafe at the end of the universe being asked what memory you want to eat as your last meal. Why is making a meringue pie in a blender the part that confuses you? It's a magic blender. That's not very scientific. It's Cafe Mori. Clark's third law is in full effect here. Ah, you know your sci-fi. Points. I pushed the plate to him. Ah, that was great. I watched as an invisible burden seemed to leave the scientist. You know, I'm feeling better after all. I was so mad at not being listened to. But I'm still glad I became a scientist. I do love my job. What do you think will happen after the universe is destroyed? I have no idea. You? Oh. I think it'll either be replaced with a totally new civilization or a civilization where history will repeat itself. Which do you think is worse? The complete loss of the old world or repeating its mistakes? I guess we'll see soon. Stupid sales text messages. Goodbye. Well, that was the last patron for me. Mori's sorted out all the others. Really? I thought there were 2 more. Mori glided up to the counter. So you're done for the day? Yep. Yes, done for the day. And done for eternity as well, I expect. I'm going to miss this, I realized. I'm going to miss him. Do you ever think about memory? About how it changes? Memory isn't reliable, so if we're recreating someone else's memory, what if that memory is false? They wouldn't even be aware of it. I think what's important is what they took from the memory. Did it make them happier? Sadder? Did it change them? I guess. I could tell that Mori was pondering deeply. Despite him not having physical eyes, I could feel him staring at me. After a while of considering something, he spoke. Tell me, what stuck out to you today when you were working? What was your takeaway from those people? That the final memories were mundane, that each of these people lived interesting lives. I mean, that final memories were mundane sounds really kind of dismissive of the entire premise up to this point. But that each of these people lived interesting lives just sounds like too easy an answer to that question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save here. And I'm going to do both. So we're going to try the final memories were mundane first. That the final memories were mundane? They tended to be very small, mundane, personal moments, rather than big celebrations. Big celebrations. And that is the measurement of a good life, is it? Kind of, yes. I haven't won any awards. I gave him a look. He shrugged. Okay. Shall we put the chairs back up on the tables? Yes. We began lifting up the wooden chairs and placing them onto the tables. When we finished, I walked back to the counter. Mori floated up to me. The cafe doesn't close in the traditional sense, but it's important to have a routine. I nodded. I understood Mori well enough to know that underneath all his layers of jokes and general goofiness, he was smart. He wanted me to feel comforted. So you know what? I decided I'd let him. See you tomorrow then? Ah, well, that's the crux of the matter now, isn't it? As you said earlier, there won't be a tomorrow because of that pesky void outside. You don't say. Are you sure you don't want to try picking a memory? I'd make you something to eat, and then you could disappear. Uh-oh, error. Alrighty, so we're back for the last meal at Cafe Mori. I ran into a bit of a glitch on the last part and couldn't continue. You got me a new copy of the game that had that glitch fixed. So, picking up where we left off, Mori was talking to Robin and had offered to make her a last meal. So, sorry, a few seconds early. And then you could disappear. And go where? There's nowhere to go. It's disappearing as we speak. I'm staying here. Besides, I don't want to lose all these memories. If I'm reborn, I'd have to leave the cafe behind. That wouldn't be so bad, would it? Yes, it would. I'm hungry. I'd like a last meal. Is Cafe Mori still open? I stopped, and the universe seemed to stop for a moment too. You don't eat. I'm going to try. Would you do me the honor of preparing something for me? Mori, what the hell are you on about? I want you to inherit the cafe. I think it's time. My job is done soon, I'm retiring. I want you to give me a bit of a send-off. Me. You want me to serve you a last meal? Yes. I've got to start a timer. Hang on just a second. Come on. And can it be a glass of trifle? I'm really in the mood for trifle. So if he doesn't eat, that would mean he never has eaten, So how does he know what he's in the mood for? Or is he just completely blowing smoke? So you can retire. Where will you go from here? Become a delivery worker? It would certainly be a change from the removal business. But no, I suppose I'll disappear like the rest of them. I wonder what I'll look like as a baby. Okay, I felt hollow. I don't want you to go. Now. That's not a grim reapery thing to say. You're starting to sound like the cafe patrons. No one gets a choice in who they lose. Don't let me be alone again. Then pick a memory too. We can both go, wherever non-existence goes. And once again, that old thought creeped back into me. I couldn't. When I was alive, there wasn't a single memory I want to take with me. I didn't have a horrible life, but to truthfully say, this is my most precious memory. I couldn't do it. No. You know why. I'll inherit the cafe from you, and I'll take care of it till the end of time. I can promise you that. I could see all the disappointment in his hollowed eye sockets, but he didn't say anything for the longest time. Very well. I fancy a glass of trifle. I turned back to my work area of shelves and ingredients, my area of expertise. Coffee beans, strawberry, vanilla, and wine.